Occurred, the 9th of July 68 7.00 Location, Nashville, in shape, cigar duration, 8 minutes characteristics. There were lights on the object. The object left a trail. It was cigar-shaped. There were other witnesses. It was silent and it appeared silver. It hovered 8 minutes and disappeared in an instant. It was a large cigar-shaped craft hovering in the air. It appeared to be silver, and there was people stopped along the road to watch the craft and were unable to identify it. It was silent and hovered for 8 minutes until it flew away in an instant. NUFORC note. We do not know if the time reported by the witness is a.m. or p.m. Date may be approximate. We are impressed that the witness measured the elapsed time for a sighting that occurred some 32 years in the past. PD.
Occurred, November 16, 1999 1800 Location, Nashville, in shape, fireball duration, 30 seconds characteristics. The object left a trail. Object came from west to east at about 200 to 300 meters. P.H. Object was on fire with black smoke trail behind it. Object did not appear to be losing attitude. Visible for about 30 seconds. I was traveling on Highway 46 east behind sister brother-in-law up very large hill towards Brown Count State Park. Could not miss this sight. Never will forget this. I heard that this was seen over lots of northern parts of Indiana. My guess is possible old satellite re-entering atmosphere.
Occurred, July 29, 2002 22:40 Location, Nashville, in shape, circle duration, 1 minute characteristics. There were aircraft in the vicinity or aircraft chasing the object. Saw a light moving across the sky from northeast to southeast. It was more yellow than white and traveling very fast. On July 29, 02 my wife and I were staying in a cabin in Brown County, Indiana, about 35 miles south of Indianapolis. At about 22.40 I went outside to look at the sky. It was filled with stars. I was looking in an easterly direction at a group of bright stars. I saw the lights of an airplane going in a general direction of northeast to southeast. Stand still and raising your in line with the airplane. I would say it was about a 30-degree elevation from the horizontal. It was moving at the speed you would normally see from an airplane. I looked back to the large group of stars when I saw what looked like a bright star moving. I thought it was just my eyes, that it was not moving. As I kept watching I could tell it was moving and very fast. It was twice as high as the airplane, moving in the same direction. Holding my arm straight and putting my thumb under the light, it was about half of the size of my thumbnail. As I watched I could see that this light was not white like to stars, but more of a yellow. I don't know how to judge speed, but I can tell you that it must have been traveling about 6 times faster than the airplane. It only took about 9 seconds to travel across the sky and move over the horizon. I watched this light move across the sky using stars to try to gauge its speed. I don't know the distance between the stars, but it went across the path of 3 stars in about a second and a half. I never see anything like it before. I saw the space station go overhead one night about 4 years ago, and thought that moved very fast. What I seen was higher in the sky and moving faster. NUFORC note. The International Space Station was visible over Indiana from 2112 to 2117 hours. On this date.
Occurred, the 2nd of October 2007 2100, entered as, the 2nd of October 07 2100, reported, the 3rd of August 2007 8 hours 53 minutes and 45 seconds PM 2053 posted, April 27, 2007 location, Nashville, in shape, triangle duration, 10 minutes characteristics. There were lights on the object, bright lighted object, clearly visible with the naked eye, hovering less than 100 yards above the ground. This incident occurred in the southeastern part of Brown County, Indiana, on February 10, 2007. It was between 8:30 and 9 p.m. when I stepped outside to retrieve something from my car. Take note that this is in the country, and a residence where I have lived for over 6 years. I am an avid stargazer, and more familiar with the night sky and my surroundings than most might be. Not to mention the sky is much more detailed than livng in the city. IIMMEDIATLY noticed a very bright light in the sky not 5 miles away, and very close to the ground. If I were to describe a star in the sky as the size of a pencil dot, this object would, in comparison, be a football. It had 3 white lights, forming what looked like a triangle, and 1 red light in the rear. None of these lights were flashing. I observed the object through my binoculars, which were in arm's reach, just inside the door, and could clearly see the movement of the object, which seemed to be hovering, moving in sporadic, smooth movements centering in one location. I yelled for my daughter and boyfriend to come see. Both witnessed this as well as a neighbor, one ridge behind me. I reached inside again, about 7 or 8 minutes later for a second pair of binoculars, and turned back around to find the object gone, without a trace.
Occurred, the 9th of March 2010, 2055 location, Nashville, in shape, light duration, 4 minutes approx. My wife and I regularly hike in the Brown County State Park in the evenings. On our drive home at about 8:55 p.m., we passed a cleared lookout spot on top of one of the park's hills and saw several very bright, yellow-orange lights, stationary in the sky, northeast of our location. We parked and got out of the car immediately, and then stood in the dark watching these lights for the next 4 minutes approximately. The park has many of these scenic overlooks where trees have been removed and people can pull their cars off the roads and view forested hills, perhaps as far away as 15 to 25 miles. Brown County is very rural and covered with forested hills. There is no town, or towers, or any high structures in the direction of these lights. However, Camp Atterbury, a military camp, is about 10 miles east of this location. For the next 4 minutes or so, we watched these lights come on, stay lit about 30 seconds or so, and then go off, fading quickly. We noticed as one light would go out, another would often come on in another location. Often, the lights seemed to be grouped in a diamond-shaped pattern, but this shape changed as a light would go off. We saw as many as 5 lights at one time, and as few as 1, before all of them went completely out. They appeared, at first, to be stationary, but through careful observation we noticed that lights would go slightly out of alignment with each other, suggesting very slow movement. We wondered if these lights were attached to a larger shape or form that we could not make it out. They were bright and it was getting dark. It is also hard to say how far away they were from us with any accuracy. They may have been a mile or so away. Even if they were as close as a mile away, the lights themselves would be rather large and exceedingly bright. If they were attached to a form, it would be gigantic. They may have been several hundred feet in the air and were above tree line. Because we do not know how far away they were, it is also hard to determine how high they may have been. My wife had her iPhone and located the direction of the lights, northeast from where we stood, and zoomed in to take a picture at a time when 3 lights were present. My son, age 24, and I watched similar very bright, yellow-orange lights one night, in the same direction, about 2.5 months ago. They also went off and on as well. There were about 10 lights or so. At that time, we heard what sounded like thunder rumbling coming from these lights. When I asked him what they looked like to him, he replied, "They look like the lights on the front of a stereo equalizer, moving slightly in relationship to each other."